There's no finer setting for a city than Swansea's. Shaped by its pioneering industrial past and its position by the sea, this city now stands at something of a crossroads. This is a story about the struggle for the heart of Swansea. But it's a story about all our towns and cities. What do we want them to be? Who controls them? How do we, ordinary citizens, get what we want from them? There's hardly anybody in Swansea who doesn't agree the city centre needs a serious makeover. But the latest redevelopment plans, called Castle Quays and costing some £160 million, are causing controversy, even before the wraps are fully off.
It's been a nightmare the last 4 or 5 years. What's going to happen to our business? I mean, my business is my staff. I got 25 people working for me. Some of them have been 27 years with me. You know, we've been so unsettled. People don't realise I've gone nights without sleeping. You know, I've had arguing with my son because he said, "Dad, what are we going to do?"
We're going to lose a tremendous opportunity because shopping malls are already on the decline, and instead of being in the forefront of change and urban revitalisation, we'll be lagging behind.
I want to be able to support it because we do need to get that development into the city of Swansea. It's urgently needed to. We do have a declining economy, and it's a serious issue.
The difficulty is we need to get Swansea from the 1950s to the next century. It's a big jump. Other cities have gone through a number of redevelopments. We've missed out. We mustn't be allowed to miss out this time.
What happens in Swansea could give us an early sign as to whether the latest government thinking about cities is practical. Central government wants a renewed emphasis on public space, not private profit, on sustainability, not short-term gain. We'll travel to Europe, to cities which are being held up as models for this kind of regeneration. What can we learn from these places? And we'll be asking Jonathon Adams, architect of Wales's Millennium Arts Centre, what steps we can take now to improve the quality of the built environment here in Wales. Increasingly, it's cities rather than countries which are becoming the focal points for business and investment in today's global economy. The Castle Quays proposal is about putting Swansea firmly on that map. It's a huge shopping development which will completely transform 3 blocks of shops and offices in the city. All of these buildings from the 1950s and 60s will go. It was the City Council which recognised nearly a decade ago that this area was ripe for new retail.
It's going to be a fairly substantial scheme. It's going to redevelop the main shopping area of the city centre. We've got streets now, and I walked up one recently, 2 charity shops, 1 empty shop and a betting shop. That's certainly not city centre as far as I'm concerned, and we need to get some of the big names in. We're losing something like £500 million of expenditure a year out of Swansea, and we just cannot afford to export that amount of money because what we're doing is exporting employment and importing unemployment by doing so. It needs to look good, and I'm very pleased to see that Benoist, who are the architects for it, are people who've got a track record of quality development. Yet
1 year after outline planning permission was given, it won't be until next month that we'll see what's planned. The excitement of Bilbao's Guggenheim Museum and Sydney's Opera House is what the architects say they want to emulate.
We wouldn't claim that we're building an art gallery, and we'd never claim it was going to look the same as the Guggenheim, for instance. But if one does take a bold and imaginative view of a building, it is astounding just how much it can change people's perception of a place, and that's what we want to do for Swansea. Not replicate an idea from another town, make it unique to Swansea, something which celebrates its history but looks forward to the future as well, and create something which is uniquely Swansea.
But for some in the city, nothing they've seen about the Castle Quays scheme backs that up. The People of Swansea campaign believe the council's signing up for just another shopping mall. They say it'll privatise public space by building over roads and putting up the shutters at night. More about this later. First, some history.
To really understand where city centre schemes like Castle Quays have come from, you have to look back to what so many of our cities have inherited from the past.
In just 3 days in 1941, German bombs flattened Swansea city centre. When Dylan Thomas heard the news and learned that his favourite haunt, the Cadoma Cafe, had been hit, he said, "This city is no longer ours." But Swansea did pick itself up. In the late 1940s and 50s, it was rebuilt quickly with bold, modernist designs. Percy Morris, Swansea's mayor in the 1950s, approved numerous redevelopment schemes. The problem facing the city in the 1990s, however, is that nearly all of those designs began to look very old-fashioned very soon.
A lot of the cities that were badly damaged in the war, Coventry, Birmingham and the like, just like Swansea, who had a lot of damage done through post-war planning, have learned the lessons and are doing some wonderful things. Swansea doesn't seem to be doing that. We're doing a rather piecemeal redevelopment. Some of it top quality, some of the work that's been done is outstanding, but the overall vision for the city still seems to be lacking.
The main problem for cities today is that in the 1950s, cars and buses were encouraged to dominate the broader new roads and roundabouts. Politicians and planners couldn't have foreseen that over the years, more and more people would want to commute in more and more cars. One lesson that planners today have learned is that to attract too many cars to city centres is not a good idea. But some people fear that the new proposals for Swansea will do exactly that.
This is the heart of Swansea and the heart of the problem. Originally the city centre came down the high street, but in the post-war redevelopment, this became the centre. It's a bit like Bart Simpson, an underachiever. I'm proud of it, because it was a great idea. It was an absolutely wonderful idea to create a central place in the city. But what it was designed for cars. And it's been a problem ever since, and we've never grappled with it.
The protesters are concerned about the new scheme, drawn up last year by developers Simons Estates and MEPC. The council have said the developers want to design the shopping centre to keep people inside it. This has prompted fears of a self-contained development which will exclude the rest of the city and cause a massive obstruction.
It's going against the whole of post-war Swansea. It's going to block this road. It's going to be mall here, you can't get into it. Doors are elsewhere, you can't get through at night. And so the one inheritance we've had since the war is this fantastic avenue down to the bay and to connect up with the new Mumbles Road, which came in after the war as well. It's the new structure of Swansea. That asset is actually going to be built over. It's really folly. It's folly to approach it like that.
What we've actually seen is a decline in the old traditional central retail area, and this is an opportunity we see to revive it.
The Cardoma restaurant on the proposed Castle Quays site has been run by the Luporini family since the early 1970s. It's exactly the sort of small local business that government advisors want to see in urban centres. Yet the owner faces compulsory purchase and probable relocation outside the new centre if it goes ahead. Last year, Pietro Luporini pleaded with the council to let this historic cafe stay where it is.
I was able to go to the council meeting and literally plead for my business. And, you've got 3 minutes for this, and they actually time you. It's very unnerving to stand there and try to say something for 3 minutes. And then you sit down and they discuss it for probably an hour, 2 hours. What hurt me most was that one of the councillors, which would go unnamed, said, after I sat down, that in this world there are winners and losers. In other words, I was a loser. I spent 30 years of running a place in Swansea, which I'm thinking of contributing to Swansea, and it hurts when somebody, says, "Oh, you're a loser."
Even small firms who aren't actually on the proposed Castle Quays site, but just next door, believe their businesses will lose out when the big national retailers move in.